Hello and welcome. Eric Bird from the Loudon Small Business Development Center. Today we're going to do a little discussion and walk through for the Leesburg Business Infusion Grant application process. This is a new program under the CARES Act. The towns and municipalities and counties around the country were provided money to assist with the pandemic. And in Leesburg, it has been decided that a portion of the money, about $3 million, are going to be given out as business grants to small businesses. And today we're going to talk about how to apply for the program, what you need to know, and what you need to do. In this video, what we're going to talk about is the details and requirements for applying to determine whether you are eligible to apply for the grant in the first place, then what information you're going to need to gather, and then we'll talk a little bit about where and how to apply online, how to find the site and information about it. And then finally, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the application form itself online to show you what happens when you start putting information in. There's a couple of things you need to know. So first and foremost, the grant is for operating or active licensed for-profit businesses that are physically located and or operating in the town of Leesburg. That's within the town limits. They needed to be in business prior to March 1st, 2020. The applications opened up on Monday, July 6th at 12 a.m. and they're going to be open until July 13th at 11:59 p.m. So all day and into the night on Monday, July 13th. So that gives everybody a full week to submit an application. In the application, you must show revenue numbers, and that revenue that you show needs to indicate at least a 25% reduction in your revenue this year during the pandemic. Businesses who are eligible can have up to 50 employees. So no more than 50, but it can be 0. So if you are a sole proprietor and you are not treating yourself as an official employee of your business, you still can apply for this. The revenue, there's also a revenue requirement. These are 2019 revenues as submitted for business license reporting. Your business must have had at least $25,000 worth of gross revenue and no more than $1 million worth of gross revenue. The grants will be given out in 2 tiers. The first tier is a $2,500 one-time grant for businesses that are in the revenue level between $25,000 and $100,000 in annual revenue for your business. That's 2019 revenue numbers. And there's going to be about 200 businesses that get those. There will be a second tier, which is a $5,000 grant, and that's for businesses that brought in $101,000 worth of revenue up to the $1 million cap. There should be about 505 of those that are given out. Now, the way the town is going to do this is in the application, you're going to indicate whether you received Loudoun County's Business Interruption Fund, which is, by the way, also CARES Act money. They will process applications and do the drawing for the first round only from businesses that did not get any money from the county grant program. So everybody will be able to apply. They will separate the applications into 2 groups. The one is the group that did not get any Loudoun money, and the second group will be the ones that did. The ones that did will go in sort of a standby mode. They will wait for the first round to be completed. First, they will do a drawing of all of the qualified applications who did not get money from the Loudoun County grant. If there is money still available, in other words, if they have not given out the 200 and the 505 grants, then they will do another drawing, which will include the businesses that did get money from the Loudoun County grant. So if you did get a grant, go ahead and apply. Just understand that you will be put into a standby mode until the initial drawing for businesses that have not gotten the grant is completed, and then you may be able to participate if there's money left over in that second round of drawing. As part of the requirement, you will be asked to agree to complete some surveys and information to demonstrate your compliance with the spending requirements. The CARES Act money needs to be used for specific things for your business. On the Leesburg website, there is a link where you can access the CARES Act requirements from the Treasury Department that lists what are allowed and not allowed as far as expenses. But essentially, it's payroll, which is salary and benefits, rent, utilities, and then other legitimate business expenses. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the money cannot be used to expand your business. Now, that might be something like buying brand new equipment or signing up for a new office space or hiring brand new employees that were not employees prior or creating new positions, things like that. That is not allowed under the CARES Act. Now, there's several pieces of information that you're going to want to have on hand before you begin the application process. This is not a log-on process, so you will go in and you will enter the information and you will submit it. You will not be able to put in partial information and then go back and access it later. So get all of this information together first and then go access the website. First, you're going to need your business license ID and the legal name of your business. That comes from your BPOL or your Leesburg Town Business License. You'll have a certificate, and we'll show you that here in a minute. And you will have two numbers that you will need to get off of that. You will need your business ID and you will need your license number from that. Then you will need your general business information, which includes the physical address and a mailing address if it's separate, contact information, telephone number, email address, that sort of thing. You will also either need your federal employee identification number, your EIN, or a Social Security number if you are a sole proprietor for that business entity. You will also want to know what your business category is, and that's available as part of your BPOL filing. They're going to ask you for that. You're going to need to put in the number of employees. So you want to make sure you have an accurate count of the number of employees. You're also going to want to have some annual revenue and some quarterly revenue information available before you begin. You're going to want to have your 2019 annual revenue information. That's going to be both the actual information, how much you actually brought in. Maybe you just completed your taxes, hopefully, and you have that information on hand. And then you will also want to know what information for revenue you put on your BPOL for your 2019 projected revenue for last year. Then you will also want to have, for if you were in business in 2019, you will also want to have your 2019 April through June actual revenue for that quarter. And then you want to have your 2020 actual, hopefully actual by now because we're out of June, but even if you don't, what your projected revenue was for 2020 this year, April to June, so that they can compare it. That's how they're figuring out the 25% reduction. And then you're going to want to have a list of your 2020 qualified expenses so that you can list basically what they are. That's your, again, that's your payroll, your rent, your utilities, other expenses that you may want to show that you're going to use this money for. Now, when you go to apply, you're going to access that at the website on the screen. That's at the leesburgva.gov/business/business-services/cares-grants page. All the information that you need is there. That's the best place to start. And that will have not only review information, but it will also have the links to move forward through the application process. We're going to do a video walkthrough here in a minute on that. If you have some questions, there is also an FAQ page. There's a link for that there as well, but the FAQ page is on the screen as well if you want to get some information prior or you have any questions. There's also contact information for town staff so that you can ask questions. Just a couple of quick things before we get to the walkthrough that you're going to want to watch out for on the form so that you're ready. The form will not let you continue if you do not have current business license information. As you see when we do the walkthrough, it's the first thing the form is going to ask you for is your business ID number and your license number. And without that information, it will not allow you to move forward. So you have to get that information and it has to be accurate and current with the town. If you do not have that information, contact town staff and they can help you access it and get your numbers or possibly you may need to apply and get caught up on your business licensing so that you can get the application in before the end of the day on next Monday. The form will ask for either more information or different information based on certain answers that you give it to questions. For example, if you were in business before January of 2019, it's going to ask you for 2019 revenue numbers. If you weren't, it'll ask you for revenue numbers between January and March, for example. So we'll see that again as we do the video walkthrough. Okay, so now we're going to take a quick pause. We'll jump over onto the website and we will walk through step by step and field by field the Leesburg Business Infusion grant application. Okay, here we are. We have now browsed to the COVID CARES Act page on the town website. You'll notice here there's some information about the different things that are going on that the town is doing. Down here at the bottom, there's a nice old video introducing the information for the grant. And then there's a link right here that says Leesburg Business Infusion information. So go ahead and click there, and that will take you through to a flyer, which gives you much more specific information that also tells you most of, in more detail a little bit than what I already covered, the specific criteria and process for participating in this grant and for applying. You will also notice that there is a email address and a telephone number if you have any questions. You also can access the FAQ page here by clicking on this page link here, and it will take you to answer some specific questions that people have if you need to do that. All right, once you're ready to apply, you can click apply here, and it will take you to your terms and conditions page. Please make sure you read all of this so that you understand what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're accepting. Once you've read through all of this and you have your documentation ready, then you can click I agree, and it will take you into the actual application entry page. Now, the first thing that this is going to ask you for is your business ID. This is the business license that's you received from the town when you renewed your BPOL, or Business and Professional Operators License. There's a place here that you can see a sample business license that will show you where exactly that is. So here's what a business license looks like. Here we have there's two sheets to the business license. They're essentially the same information. One is for your records and one is actually to display in your business. The two numbers that you're going to need for this process are the license number and the business ID. The business ID, shown here in red, is circled in the middle of the page, and then the license number is the number that's in the upper right-hand corner here, circled in blue. You're going to need both of those numbers. So if you put an incorrect or inactive number here, like this, and try to submit, then what will happen is you will get this warning that says, it appears you are not eligible for this grant. Please confirm you're entering your correct business ID. So what's happening here is when you put in the numbers, it is actually doing a quick check back with the systems at the town and verifying that this is indeed an actual business, active business ID and a business license number. So if you do not have an active business license number, you're given an email and a phone number to call here to help get that straightened out. And otherwise you can move forward. Now we're going to put in an actual number. Now I'm going to blur these out because this is actually a business. Now, when you put in an active business ID, it will then open up this license number field, and that's where you will put in the next number. That is the second license, or the license number off the form. It will check to make sure that it's accurate. If it is not accurate, you will get that warning we had before. If it is not, then everything is fine. Now, from here on out, you can basically enter any information that you want. But you're going to want to make sure that you enter the accurate business information so that when the application is actually processed, they will have the information that matches your business license filing in the town records. So then we put in the owner contact's first name, last name, a telephone number, and email address. Then you're going to want to put in the physical address in the town. And then you're going to be asked if this is the mailing address. If the mailing address is the same as the physical address, this is pretty common. If it is not, and you click no, it will actually then ask you for the mailing address. So this top address is the physical address from your license. If that is the same, then you can click yes, and you don't have to put in anything else. Now, this next section is asking you for the business identifier. That's either going to be your social security number or a federal employee ID number. If you're a sole proprietor and you do not have a separate legal entity, you're going to put in your social security number here. If you do have an entity, either an S corporation or an LLC, for example, then you're going to want to put in the last 4 digits of your employee identification number there. Then it's going to ask you if this is essential or non-essential as a business. Now, this is according to the Executive Order 53 at the state level, and there's a link here that you can click if you're not sure whether your business is classified as essential or non-essential. Just click that, and it will give you some information about that as well. Next, you will want to have the business category. This is the business category that you filed for your B-poll. And if you would also then enter a very brief description of the primary business activity for your business. Next, here you will put the number of employees. Now, keep in mind, there is a limit of up to 50 employees. Now, this includes full-time employees and part-time employees. If you are a business that doesn't have any employees, that you are just the owner, and maybe you use contractors and the like, then you can put 0 here. That is perfectly fine. Here, we're going to put, actually, it's more like 5. So we're going to put our number of employees here, and then it's going to ask you if you received the Loudoun County Business Interruption Grant. This was awarded a couple of weeks ago. If in any of the rounds, the first, second, or third rounds, you received money, then you would want to say yes. If you did not, you simply want to select no. There is no other information to put in here. This will simply identify whether or not you're going to go into the first group or the second group as far as the drawings go. Now, if you also received Payroll Protection Program funding, if you got a PPP loan, then you would want to say yes. And if you did, then they're asking you to put in the amount of the PPP that was used for salary. So if you got the PPP and a portion of that is to go for salaries, then they're asking you to let them know how much that was, and they're asking you to round to the nearest dollar. If you did not, then you simply select no. Then it's going to ask you if you were in business prior to January 1st, 2019. Now, if you were not, if you started your company after January 1st, but were in existence and were operating before March, then you click no, and notice down here that the revenue section now looks a little different. It's only going to ask you for the annual projection for your 2020 that you put on your B-poll application when you started your company and applied for your license after January, between January and March. And then it's going to ask you your actual, or if you haven't closed out your books, your projected for the quarter that ends on June 30th. Now, most companies, if they have been around, they will say, yes, they were in business in 2019, in which case it's going to ask you for your year ending actual revenue for 2019. Now, keep in mind, the floor for this grant is $25,000. So if you, let's say, made $75,000 in gross revenue, that's gross sales, and that is what you had projected on your B-poll. So when you renew your B-poll, you put in an annual, basically you say, here's what we projected to make in this year, and that is what you made. Now, the next 2 revenue are for the quarter ending in June 30th. So for the second quarter in 2019, how much money did you make? So if you made, let's say you made $22,000, it was a good quarter in June in 2019, then you would put that there. And then you're going to show what you actually made this year. And again, if you haven't closed out your books fully, maybe you haven't finished up June quite yet, then you can put in projected number. And let's say that it's obviously we're having some problems. So that number ends up looking more like that. So that's how you're going to report your revenue. Then they're going to ask for a couple of pieces of information about basic expenses. Now, they only want to know about the expenses that you're going to use the funding for. Keep in mind that there are only several categories that the funds can be used for under the CARES Act, specifically salary and benefits or payroll information, basically expenses, rent, utilities, and then there are some others. Now, if you are wondering what others there are, on the information page prior to this, there is a link to the Treasury Department white paper, basically, that explains what all of the valid expenses and uses are for the CARES Act funding. But for our purposes, we're going to put that. So next you would put in information for your salaries for that period of time. Let's say that's $12,000 for your salaries and benefits. Then you can add an expense that, say, your rent for that period of time is another $6,500. And then you could add, and again, you can add whatever expenses are actually applicable to your business. You will be asked to certify that you are an authorized employee or agent of this company and that you're allowed to be giving them this information and that you have reviewed all of the terms and conditions. And you will also be asked to certify that all of the information that you have given is true and accurate. Then you will do the reCAPTCHA test and click submit, and then your application for the grant will be submitted. Again, if you have any trouble or challenges, the Leesburg Town staff and at that email and phone number that was listed on the site is available to you. If you would like some assistance in noodling through some information, you can also reach out to the Loudoun SBDC. Our website is here, as well our main email address and our office telephone number. Good luck, and everyone stay well.